Hello everyone, Prime here. Very good day. Today we're going to be going over the other characters from Arthurian mythology, some other picks that Hi-Rez could put into the game. I'm going to be starting off with Lancelot. Lancelot was raised by the Lady of the Lake, who had replaced Merlin after their business was done with. The lady respected Merlin and asked the king to train her son Lancelot, take him into his care. Lancelot is soon knighted and proves himself in many battles before going missing, much to the dismay of the king and queen. When he returns, battered and in rags, he explained that he defended King Pelles against a dragon that was causing a bit of trouble, as dragons might, these massive dangerous creatures, that he defended himself with a shield and eventually penetrated its hide with a sword. After all that business was done, the king held a feast in his honor. Not just that, he also revealed that in his possession was the Holy Grail, the last cup that Jesus Christ ever drank from. Returning to Arthur, Lancelot explained all of this, but Arthur remained a little skeptical, till Lancelot told him his real reasons for leaving the kingdom in the first place. See, it turned out that Lancelot actually had the hots for Guinevere, the queen, Arthur's wife. So he decided to sort of take out his rage because he couldn't have Guinevere by going on a bit of a tantrum and leaving the kingdom for a bit. So later on in Lancelot's story, he actually does get together with Guinevere and they may or may not have a child, but the important thing is that when people discover that Guinevere has been unfaithful to the king, she's to be burnt at the stake, but Lancelot saves her life. In some versions of the story, Gwyn becomes a nun and Lance becomes a monk. But whilst he was a knight, Lancelot was one of the most respected and best of the knights, if you will, very skilled. He was also able to join the Knights of the Round Table and was quickly knighted after being placed into Arthur's care. So, all in all, pretty good stuff, Lance. Now, part of Lancelot's story is going to link to the next character here, and that's Galahad, Lancelot's son. He's born when Lancelot mistakes Elaine of Corbinic for Guinevere, the queen who he's having a bit of an affair with. See, at this point, Lancelot would only sleep with Guinevere. So King Pelias had to either A, get the help of the Lady of the Lake and have them do a bit of sorcery on his daughter, or B, King Pelias' daughter, i.e. Elaine, was a bit of a sorceress herself and knew a bit of magic and was able to transform her appearance. Either way, the point is that her appearance is changed and she's made to look like Guinevere. Lance sleeps with Elaine, not Guinevere, but under the disguise of Guinevere, and they have a child. Now, this child will be called Galahad, and this was the name that Lancelot was supposed to be taking, and that he was supposed to be called Galahad, but he wasn't. So Galahad gets to be called Galahad. So when Lancelot finds out that he was tricked, in his embarrassment, he sort of runs away or flees, or he's so disheartened by the betrayal that he just leaves. And supposedly that's when he returns to King Arthur. Now, Elaine is heartbroken by this, and apparently Lancelot eventually meets with her again, but not whilst she's alive. Because she was abandoned, she commits suicide. So, dark stuff there, but as I guess that you can see, there's a lot of juiciness that Hi-Rez could use to pack this into a story. Assuming that the current conflict is over with, they could incorporate more characters from Arthurian mythology, Arthurian legend rather, in the stories, and bolster the story a bit like that, because it's nice that Hi-Rez is branching out into other mythologies and it's not so Greek mythology heavy, or Roman mythology, I guess, interchangeable in the Smite story. Because that's what the Smite story, that's probably been the main pantheon. If you pick out one pantheon that has been the center point, the focus, it's clearly Greek. And of course, Galahad was no slouch as a knight either. In his adult life, he reunites with Lancelot and is knighted by Lancelot. Then he's taken to Arthur's court, and he is taken to a seat in the Round Table. This seat was pretty famous because every knight who claimed it died, but Galahad didn't when he sat down there, so Arthur was pretty darn impressed. So then, Arthur takes him to a similar sword in a stone, similar to the one that Arthur famously, got his name from, the kingdom and all of that. Except when Galahad pulls it out, Arthur is impressed but doesn't give him the kingdom or anything. Instead, he gets another pretty cool title because the inscription on the sword itself read, "Never shall man take me hence, but only he whose side I ought to hang, and he shall be the best knight of the world." So, of course, Galahad, pretty special dude. So after all of this stuff sort of went down and they go back to the round table, it's shown for the whole court to see, or every knight at the round table to see. Galahad then leads a bunch of knights from the round table in a quest to find the Holy Grail. So yes, pretty cool dude, this Galahad. And either one of those characters, Lancelot or Galahad, I'm pretty sure you'll agree, could make very nice fits for characters in Smite. I'm not sure what you all think about Arthur, but in my opinion, Hi-Rez could put a few more knights in the game without breaking the balance of things. But if knights isn't exactly a direction they want to go in, once all of this will work out, and we have all the highly requested characters that we have, well, i.e. Set, Horus, Jormungandr, so on, Mordred could be a very nice choice. Now, he's still a knight-like character. In some stories, he's the bastard son of King Arthur by Morgause, and who was the wife of King Lot. Merlin foretold that Arthur's end would come or be foretold thanks to the fact that he slept with Morgause, and Mordred would be his end. Mordred isn't happy about the incestuous nature behind his conception, and has a lot of dark motivations because of this, so, pretty edgy knight. I suppose Hi-Rez has gone pretty off the rails, in my opinion, with a lot of those edgy knight skins, but hey, this wouldn't be a skin, it would be a character, so I guess that would be a bit of, maybe identity might be a bit of a problem. Is identity a problem in Smite? I'm not sure. I think it might be, but hey, I don't want to, make up stuff just for the sake of making up stuff, so yeah. But anyways, in his final battle against Arthur, he's mortally wounded, but he does manage to dangerously damage Arthur in some way that would eventually bring about Arthur's death. And vice versa, Arthur pierces him and it's a mortal wound and, Mordred dies, so yeah. A lot of mortal injuries, but anyone who's skilled enough to take out Arthur, who has Excalibur by his side and is a pretty skilled knight, probably deserves a mention in Smite, and again, could have nice story implications if we get bored of King Arthur. Next up, we have the Lady of the Lake, and this is actually going to be a few characters. The first Lady of the Lake isn't named, but exchanges Excalibur with Arthur in return for a request, and when she arrives in the king's court to collect on their deal, Balin is blamed for her brother's death, and the Lady of the Lake requests his head. Arthur, not wanting to give up a good knight's head, refuses, and Arthur, not wanting to give up a good knight's head, refuses this sort of unfair request. I suppose it was completely fair, it was all part of the deal, but Arthur was all nah. And then Balin was all, hey, no, you're kind of a bitch, and then cuts off her head. So, yeah. Arthur isn't pleased about that, though. The next Lady of the Lake is a sorceress that's deeply desired by Merlin, but never once returns his affections, and eventually has no choice but to trap the wizard in a tomb or a cave where he would die, or if he doesn't die, he's never really mentioned in the story again by that point, so sad times for Merlin. She then goes on to replace Merlin as Arthur's advisor, who marries Sir Peleus and takes Excalibur back after the Battle of Camlan, in which Arthur is slain by Mordred. She's also one of the ladies that helped King Arthur travel to Avalon, the legendary island that was more or less like heaven, I suppose. Now, I suppose these two lovely ladies would be standing in as mages of the pantheon, but, well, there are a lot of options for goddesses. I don't think these characters would necessarily be called goddesses, but that's a problem that's not really a problem thanks to characters like, say, Medusa, or perhaps Hercules. I'm sure you could think of other examples of gods that are called gods that are not actually gods in the game, so yeah. And hey, maybe Hi-Rez could do something special with them. I mean, they're ladies of the lake, maybe they could play around with that a little, and maybe doing something with Merlin or having them betray both Arthur and Merlin could be a cool twist in the story. Who knows, but hey, they are definitely options and could definitely be cool. Now, if we want to continue this theme of sort of mages betraying Arthur, I suppose we'd have to mention Morgan Le Fay. She was a fairy and half-sister to Arthur, and was a pretty revered enchantress. Attractive, of course, but dangerous to Arthur, not exactly on his side. Of course, this is in later stories. In the original story, she's not necessarily considered this evil figure. In fact, she was a benign healer, or a divine figure. But later writers decided, hey, we need some bad ladies, and this lady, she's going to be a bad lady, so we get bad Morgan Le Fay. Now, of course, all of these sorceresses, very powerful, so could they contend with gods? Who knows, but they could definitely deserve a place if we're giving Arthur and Merlin a place. So, yeah. Other than that, the only other character I'm going to mention here is the questing beast. Talked about him in the previous video, I think. A legendary beast born of a demon and a princess. It was slaying a bunch of creatures before a knight comes along and kills it, so I suppose it's your standard monster type of thing. But hey, a lot of other pantheons have some sort of monster creature beast thing, and I suppose you could include dragons or other magical creatures from the legends, but hey, I know a little bit about the questing beast already, so why not include the questing beast? And with that said, that's the end of the video. What do you think? Do you think there were some other characters that should be included here? Did you like this selection? Do you think these selections could maybe make the story too juicy? Not juicy enough? Would you be interested in the story if these characters were included? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. Till the next video though, have a very good day. I have been Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next one.